Hello and welcome. We are live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Narendra Modi will take oath as Prime Minister of India on June 9. Says changes in the country clearly visible and 18th Lok Sabha will work for Amrit Kal. US President Joe Biden apologizes to Volodymyr Zelensky for congressional delays in Ukraine military aid, makes a sweeping pledge for democracy. European Union elections underway with voters in 27 nations casting ballots to shape the bloc's political direction for the next 5 years. World number 1 Iga Swiatek eyes 4th Grand Slam title, will face Jasmine Paolini in Roland Garros title clash on Saturday. All right, news in detail now. President of India, Draupadi Murmu, invited Narendra Modi to form the government for the third consecutive time after letters of support were submitted by leaders of the National Democratic Alliance parties as well as the BJP Parliamentary Party electing him as their leader. Swearing in for the third Modi government to take place on June 9 at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. And the National Democratic Alliance, which emerged victorious in India's general elections, unanimously elected Prime Minister Narendra Modi as its parliamentary committee leader, thus making him PM-elect for a third consecutive term. The Pre-Poll Alliance, with the BJP as its leading member, is poised to form the government with the backing of over 300 MPs, including independents and others. Here's a report of the NDA Parliamentary Committee meeting.
Celebrations erupted outside Samvidhan Sadan on June 7 after Narendra Modi was chosen as the leader of the NDA Parliamentary Committee. BJP workers danced with party flags and rejoiced to dhol beats, something Prime Minister Modi had himself referred to a short while earlier while describing India and the mother of democracy and condemning the opposition in the alliance for besmirching India's reputation globally.
मैं दुनिया में ढोल पीट रहा हूं कि हम मदर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी है और ये दुनिया में जाकर के बता रहे नहीं हमारे देश में तो डेमोक्रेसी जैसा कुछ नहीं कि वो मोदी बैठ गया है, वो एक चाय बेचने वाला यहां पहुंच कैसे गया.
The BJP-led National Democratic Alliance has won a clear majority in the recently concluded general elections, and the members of the coalition expressed their unwavering support for Prime Minister Modi to lead a third consecutive term, a historic moment and one they felt was richly deserved.
We are having leader. That leader is Narendra Modi. Now, I proudly propose the name of Sri Narendra Modi ji on behalf of Telugu Desam Party for the post of Prime Minister of this great nation.
10 साल से ये प्रधानमंत्री हैं और फिर प्रधानमंत्री होने जा रहे हैं और इन्होंने पूरे देश की सेवा की. अब पूरा भरोसा है कि जो कुछ भी बचा है अगली बार ये सब पूरा कर देंगे.
आप ही में सर वो इच्छा शक्ति है जो गांव और शहर की दूरी को मिटा सकता है. आप ही में वो इच्छा शक्ति है जो अमीर और गरीबी के फासले को पार सकता है. आप ही में वो इच्छा शक्ति है सर जिसने ये लक्ष्य रखा कि 2047 तक भारत को हम लोग विकसित देश बनाएंगे और भारत को विकसित देश बनाने की ओर आप ही हम लोगों को लेकर चल सकते हैं.
Prime Minister Modi described the NDA as an unbreakable bond built on trust.
आप मुझे फिर से एक बार ये दायित्व देते हैं, इसका मतलब है कि हम दोनों के बीच हम आपस में विश्वास का सेतु इतना मजबूत है ये अटूट रिश्ता विश्वास की मजबूत धरातल पर है और ये सबसे बड़ी पूंजी होता है.
Prime Minister Modi underscored the significance of collective efforts by all elected representatives in propelling the nation forward, emphasizing that beyond mere majority, it is unanimity that drives progress in a democracy.
मैं आज देशवासियों को यहां से विश्वास दिलाना चाहता हूं कि आपने जिस प्रकार से हमें बहुमत देकर के सरकार चलाने का सौभाग्य दिया है, ये हम सबका दायित्व है कि हम सर्वमत का निरंतर प्रयास करेंगे और देश को आगे ले जाने के लिए हम कोई कोर कसर नहीं छोड़ेंगे.
After the NDA meeting, its parliamentary committee leader and PM-elect for a third consecutive term, Prime Minister Modi called on elder statesmen of the party, Bharat Ratna L.K. Advani, Padma Vibhushan Murli Manohar Joshi and former President of India Ram Nath Kovind. Bureau Report, DD India.
And top South Asian leaders have been invited to the oath ceremony reflecting the government's neighbourhood first policy. Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina and Nepal Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal have confirmed their presence. They will be attending the swearing-in ceremony of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, sources confirmed on Thursday. Both Sheikh Hasina and her Nepal counterpart Dahal had previously extended their greetings to Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the performance of the NDA at the 18th Lok Sabha elections. And the polls are underway across the European Union, marking the beginning of what is expected to be a pivotal election, with far-right parties anticipated to secure significant gains, heightening the stakes in this continent-wide democratic exercise, which boasts over 370 million eligible voters spanning 27 member states.
The polls are underway across the European Union, marking the beginning of what is expected to be a pivotal election, with far-right parties anticipated to secure significant gains. With more than 370 million eligible voters spread across 27 member states, the stakes are high in this election. It's the 10th parliamentary election since the first direct elections back in 1979, and notably the first European Parliament election post-Brexit. The election, which runs from June 6th to June 9th, is coinciding with several other elections in various EU member states. Meanwhile, early indications suggest a surge in support for far-right parties. In the Netherlands, exit polls are indicating significant gains for Geert Wilders' anti-immigration party. Initial exit polls place his party as a close second to a coalition of left-wing parties. This marks a remarkable turnaround for Wilders, whose party failed to secure a seat in the previous EU election.
Well, I'm a very happy politician. I'm the leader of a party that is the greatest winner today. We went from 1 to 8 seats in parliament, with even a chance that we could become the biggest party and close to the Social Democrats and the Greens, who have 1 seat more in parliament. They have 8, we have 7. We went from 1 to 7.
While the far right in France sees this election as a crucial opportunity to undermine Macron's influence, and using this election as a platform to challenge President Emmanuel Macron's party.
Jusqu'à présent, il était inenvisageable que le Rassemblement.
This is a really spectacular rise for Rassemblement National. I mean, the fact that the Rassemblement National is leading in EU polls is not new. In the past 2 European elections, we have forgotten this, but the Rassemblement National already finished in first place. But then what's unique in this election, if the Institute's polls on voting trends are reflected in the ballots this Sunday, is that they could reach the symbolic score of 30%.
Dans lesquels il y avait une espèce de plafond de verre, je pense notamment aux électeurs de plus de 60 ans.
On the other hand, activists have taken to the streets, blocking the entrance to the EU Commission, calling for degrowth. This adds another layer of complexity to an already intense political landscape. With Bureau Inputs, Ravindra Chauhan's report for DD India.
And in the ongoing election campaign in United Kingdom, both Labour and Conservative Party are trying their best to convince the voters. Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak suffered a fresh setback when he apologised for leaving D-Day commemorations early in order to give an interview. More in this report.
Election campaigning is in full swing in the United Kingdom for the upcoming parliamentary election on July 4. The most successful political party in British history, the Conservatives, are seeking to break another record on the 4th of July by securing a fifth election win in a row. The party headed by Rishi Sunak will be defending a majority secured by Boris Johnson in 2019 and hoping to improve on it across the country. The ruling Conservatives and the opposition Labour Party have both pledged to scrap preferential tax treatment for non-domiciled residents. Labour leader Keir Starmer has additional plans to tax the wealthy, and polls show his party more than 20 points ahead. Starmer, who's 61 years old, completed his education from the University of Leeds and the University of Oxford. Since 2015, Holborn and St Pancras has been his parliamentary constituency. In 2015, he became the MP from Holborn and St Pancras in North London. He served in former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn's frontbench team as his shadow Brexit secretary. Conservative Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is the UK's first British Indian Prime Minister. He studied at Oxford University and later did an MBA from Stanford University in California. He became Chief Secretary to the Treasury in 2019. In October 2022, he became Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. In his upcoming election, he has pledged to fight with multiple challenges like halving inflation, growing the economy, reducing debt, cutting NHS waiting times, and stopping small boat crossings. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is fighting to keep his job and to continue in the Parliament. But on Friday, Prime Minister Sunak suffered a fresh setback when he apologised for leaving D-Day commemorations early in order to give an interview. However, he said the decision to leave D-Day events early should not be used for political gain.
The itinerary for these events was set weeks ago, before the start of the general election campaign, and having participated in all the British events with British veterans, I returned home before the International Leaders event later in the day. On reflection, that was a mistake and I apologise. I think it's important though, given the enormity of the sacrifice made, that we don't politicise this. The focus should rightly be on the veterans who gave so much. I had the honour and privilege of speaking to many of them.
This year, in the United Kingdom, tax has dominated the election debate. PM Sunak repeatedly said Labour would increase taxes by £2,000 per family, a claim Labour has branded a lie. All 650 seats in the House of Commons are up for grabs on July 4. The leader of the party that can command a majority either alone or in coalition will become Prime Minister. Aman Kumar Himangshu's report, DD India.
All right, we'll slip into a very short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Hunter Biden's daughter testifies at his criminal gun trial. Danish PM attacked in central Copenhagen. Man arrested. And RBI says growth inflation balance now favorable.
The construction sector generates waste, causes air pollution and also contaminates water. It really harms our environment. But there are ways to make this sector more sustainable. So let's look at some ideas to build green.
We begin every project by searching for reclaimed wood or stones from old houses. Working with reclaimed material also requires a lot of skill and experience.
Mud bricks are made of nothing but mud and 8% stabilizer. We now add a bit of lime and cement, but 92% is mud.
The distance between the elevators and the windows, that's great. A lot of office buildings actually have way too much space between the elevators and the glazing to make that happen.
The living root bridges has to be protected because we retain the imprints of our forefathers who has taught us how to use the natural resources without destroying the Mother Earth.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Abhishek Mahajan. US President Joe Biden on Friday for the first time publicly apologized to Ukraine for a month-long congressional hold-up in American military assistance that let Russia make gains on the battlefield. Biden has also announced a fresh $225 million tranche to Ukraine on the sidelines of D-Day events. The meeting was their first face-to-face encounter since Zelensky visited Washington in December, when the two pressed Republicans to overcome opposition in their party to more support for Ukraine.
The way you stood and holding on in Kharkiv, and you've proven once again the people of Ukraine cannot and will never be overtaken. And I assure you, the United States is going to stand with you. I've said that all during this debate. I continue to say it. The United States is standing with you.
And in response to Biden extending support, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky stressed the importance of his country's relationship with the US, saying it was crucial in the fight against Russia.
It's very important that in this unity, United States, America, all American people stay with Ukraine, like it was during World War II, how the United States helped to save human lives, to save Europe, and we count on your continuing support and standing with us, shoulder to shoulder. Thank you so much. We need peace in Ukraine, but we will stay. Anyway, stay strong.
Now, US President Joe Biden is on an official state visit to Paris after 2 days attending the ceremonies marking 8 years since D-Day in northern France. DD India's Paris correspondent Ross Cullen takes a look at what is happening on Saturday for the state visit.
Well, after spending 2 days focused on the D-Day commemorations in northern France, Joe Biden also met Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday in Paris for talks about continuing aid for Ukraine. And then Saturday will now mark the full state visit for the American president as part of his ongoing trip here to France. He and Emmanuel Macron will start Saturday at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, paying tribute there at the Arc de Triomphe at the top of the Champs-Élysées Boulevard. Then the two presidents will make their way to the Élysée Palace, the French presidential office and residence. They will hold a working lunch there, and there's lots for the two men to discuss. The war in Ukraine, the situation in the Middle East between Hamas and Israel, the ongoing fighting there, both countries' relationships with China, issues in the Indo-Pacific, and also other global challenges like fighting climate change. After the working lunch, there will be a press statement, and then the two leaders will come back for the final part of the state visit, which will be the pomp and ceremony of a formal state dinner in the Élysée Palace. Ross Cullen in Paris, reporting for DD India.
And Russia's President Vladimir Putin said on Friday that he was ready to engage in peace talks with Ukraine, but only if Moscow could get agreements that were in Russia's interest. Putin spoke at Russia's flagship annual economic forum in St. Petersburg on Friday.
Of course, we need to achieve such agreements and such conditions that will comply with our interest and will be the most reliable. You are right that to settle agreements with such authorities is really hard.
Naomi Biden, granddaughter of the US president, is the latest high-profile witness to give evidence in a case against her father, Hunter Biden. She talked about how well she thought he was doing at the time of a gun purchase back in 2018, but contrary evidence was shown on cross-examination. DD India's Caroline Malone reports.
It's the end of the first week in testimony in the Hunter Biden trial that's brought a lot of evidence about him suffering from substance abuse both before and after purchasing a gun, and saying on the form that he was not taking drugs. His daughter Naomi gave evidence on Friday, saying she thought he seemed really great around the time that he bought the Colt Cobra gun in October 2018 when she saw him in California. But the prosecution showed text messages which appeared to show the contrary. She said in the text messages, "I can't take this, and I miss you so much, and I just want to hang out." Well, prosecutors also allege Hunter Biden was arranging to buy drugs at the time. Well, early this week, his ex-wife and former romantic partners have testified about his drug use, but none of them have said they saw him taking drugs during the time in question. The defence says Hunter Biden was clean at the time. He did not consider himself to be an addict, at the time and has been sober since 2019. Well, earlier on Friday, prosecutors rested their case. Hunter Biden's team then asked the judge overseeing the case to acquit him, as they said there's not enough evidence to convict him. But the US district judge has not yet ruled on that. On Monday, we will find out, though, if the defence will call Hunter Biden himself to testify. That's a tricky decision to make because, of course, it exposes him to cross-examination. Well, all of this comes just after a guilty verdict for Donald Trump on 34 counts of business falsification. He's the likely rival to US President Joe Biden. And there are allegations from Trump's Republican Party that Joe Biden is using the justice system for his own political or personal ends. But Biden said in an interview on Thursday he would not pardon his son if he was convicted. Caroline Malone in Washington for DD India.
Now, Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen walked away following an assault by a man in central Copenhagen on Friday without any outward signs of harm. The assault comes 2 days before Danes head to the polls in the EU election. 3 weeks ago, Slovakia's Prime Minister Robert Fico was seriously injured in an assassination attempt. The statement from Prime Minister's office said Mette Frederiksen was shocked by the incident. Police had arrested a man and were investigating the incident but declined to give further detail. An eyewitness saw the Prime Minister being escorted away by national and intelligence security personnel following the assault. And France is planning to try to restrict children's access to social media. The French president says young people are at risk from harm online. Emmanuel Macron asked a commission of experts to examine the risk to children of spending too much time on screens, and they have recommendations for new legislation. DD India correspondent Ross Cullen reports.
From social media to online gaming and watching videos, screens now dominate a large part of our lives. But it's the impact on children's development that is worrying the French government. In a major speech last month, the French president said that the legal age for using social media should be no younger than 15.
And today, for several hours a day, we open the door to the jungle. And that same person could be a victim of cyberbullying or subject to pornographic material or pedocriminality. That's what the online space is, because it's not regulated and it is not moderated either.
In April, a survey by French public health authorities showed that 2-year-olds in France spend about an hour a day in front of a screen. For child psychiatrist Anne Siniquier, it's a problem that must be addressed.
These screens are a bit hypnotic for children. There is lots of light, movement, bright colors, lots of sound. I mean, just look at a child watching TV. You can call them 100 times, and they won't respond in any way because they are completely hypnotized.
In 2023, the government said it wanted to introduce prevention messages on computers, tablets and phones to advise consumers in a similar way to the warnings on tobacco products. And protecting young people from too much screen time has cross-party support. Earlier this year, the opposition Republican Party tabled a bill calling for a ban on screens in nurseries for children under 3. Some of the new laws could include no screens for the under 3s, smartphones only being allowed for those under the age of 13, and a recommendation not to use Instagram or TikTok if you're under the age of 18. Ross Cullen in Paris, reporting for DD India.
And Boeing's 2-member Starliner crew received a warm welcome after successfully docking at the International Space Station. The rendezvous was achieved despite an earlier loss of several guidance control jet thrusters. The smiling new crew arrived wearing their blue flight suits, weightlessly floating headfirst through the padded passageway, one after the other into the station. Williams was first. And the Monetary Policy Committee of the Reserve Bank of India retained its hawkish stance, although with a growing dissension within its ranks, even as it is revised upwards its growth estimate for 2024-25 to 7.2% from 7%. It retained the policy rate at 6.5% for the 8th consecutive time, and the stance of monetary policy continues to be focused on withdrawal of accommodation. The repo rate is the interest rate at which the Reserve Bank of India loans money to commercial banks. All right, sports now. Top-ranked Iga Swiatek will look to continue her dominance at Roland Garros when she faces 15th-ranked Jasmine Paolini in the 2024 French Open Women's Singles Final on Saturday. Swiatek, who first held the top ranking in April 2022, is looking to win her 4th French Open and 3rd in a row. She is also closing in on her 5th Grand Slam title, having won the US Open in 2022. The 28-year-old Paolini is in uncharted territory, having never advanced past the 4th round of a Grand Slam event. This will be the 3rd time that Iga Swiatek and Jasmine Paolini play each other. The last time they had competed against each other, Swiatek won 6-3, 6-0 in the first round at the US Open back in 2022. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Abhishek from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.